Indeed. All right, Lise, many thanks, Lise Doucette, our chief international correspondent there. Well, as we've been hearing, the United Nations says nearly 500,000 Ukrainians have fled their homes for other countries, while many more are internally displaced. Our correspondent Rob Cameron has sent us this report from the border with Slovakia, where well over 10,000 people every day are seeking shelter.
This is my second visit to this border crossing in 4 days, and what started as just a couple of tents really and a few hundred people, mostly Ukrainians from the neighbouring Carpathian region, has swollen into what is essentially a global village where people from all over the world, students and migrant workers, are all part now of this big sea of humanity, of people fleeing the conflict in Ukraine and heading west.
My family in Kharkov now, and my parents, my sister, oh my God, I'm so scared for this.
Nasta fled the bombing of Kharkiv with her 3 young children.
We don't hate Russian people, we hate war. We don't want war.
Like most Ukrainians arriving here, she's going on to friends and relatives in neighbouring countries, part of the great Ukrainian diaspora in Central Europe. There are strong bonds of affinity and affection here in the plains beneath the Carpathian Mountains.
No, we are not an organization. We just came here and would like to help. We bring our tent, bring our desks, bring our wood, bring our fireplace. Everything was ours, and we just stay here for right now in 3 days. And we also manage new system for the registration of the refugees. We manage registration for the buses.
The Slovak authorities say they're ready for a much larger exodus of people. The bottlenecks, they say, are forming on the Ukrainian side. But there are people here from all over the world. Students from Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, migrant workers from Pakistan, all caught up in what could soon become Europe's greatest movement of people since the Second World War. Where will they go? And when will they go home? Rob Cameron, BBC News, on the Slovak-Ukrainian border.
We'll hear from Mark Lowen on the Polish border a little bit, but first we're going to go back to Rob, who's on the Slovakian side. And Rob, I just want to pick up on your piece there. I just wonder how organised the authorities are for an influx of 10,000 people every day.
Well, it certainly feels quite secure here. There's a very heavy military and police presence, and we've actually had the opportunity to speak both to Slovakia's president, Zuzana Čaputová, and also the defence minister, and they both assured me that no, we're on top of this, we know what we're doing, and we're ready for more people. But when you actually speak to the volunteers who've come here, many of them completely on their own back and paying for this stuff themselves, they say they've had no direction from the local authorities. They want the officials of Slovakia to come in and keep the situation under control and direct the flow of people. What they're worried about, and I think it's what many observers here are worried about too, is that if the steady trickle, the flow of people coming over from Ukraine does become a torrent, a flood, if there are not hundreds here but thousands waiting here, people who aren't going to be picked up and taken into Europe, what are they going to do? And who's going to feed them? Who's going to accommodate them? And who's going to look after them?
Yeah, all right, Rob, thanks for that. Mark Lowen on the Polish side of the border with Ukraine. I just want to check, Mark. I mean, we've got so many people arriving who are seeking safe haven. Are the Polish authorities letting everyone across the border who wants sanctuary? Are they letting them all through? Because there are suggestions that there are some students, for instance, black African students, who are not getting across that border.
Well, very interesting you should mention that, Clyde, because actually I just met a lot of them from Africa, from Uzbekistan, from Pakistan as well, inside this place. Let me just show you where we are. We're actually at a huge shopping mall, and this is about 5 miles away from the border, and it has become a temporary reception centre for refugees, and the refugees who are inside have just arrived. Many of them are still coming. In fact, buses here are pulling up, ferrying people to the shopping centre within the last few hours. They keep on coming, actually. Now, we haven't yet got permission to film inside, but I've just been inside, and I can tell you there are a few thousand people inside. They are on camp beds, they are queuing for food and for some medical supplies as well. And the slightly bizarre scene is that actually the shops inside still have their products, so I I saw kitchen tiles and bathtubs and clothes as well. Now, the women and children who are inside are Ukrainian, because of course Ukrainian men are being called back to fight. But the men inside, there are a lot of men inside, and they are Congolese, they are Uzbeks, they are Pakistanis. They were either studying or working in Ukraine. And the question now is where they go. Some of them will come to stay with relatives in Poland, others with relatives out of Poland. Poland now says that around 300,000 people have crossed from Ukraine to Poland since the war began. And I can tell you, having been inside, if the numbers continue to swell, places like this are going to be full to bursting point.
Yeah, great to get that clarification, Mark. Many thanks for that. Mark Lowen there in Poland. And we've got Rob Cameron also, who joined us from Slovakia. Many thanks to you both.